As some of you know, I love training and I love running, and I train in the gym with Tom, who is a wonderful, wonderful personal trainer. And we spend a lot of time having conversations and larking about. So my training is great fun. But we were having a conversation the end of last week where I was saying that in my experience of nearly 50 years of working in people's lives, initially as a PT like Tom, and then evolving into deeper work, mentoring, healing, therapy, teaching, coaching at a deeper level, and helping people to discover ways to live that felt really resonant with who they truly are, that I have essentially discovered, realized, seen, had in my experience that people want to feel good, and they want to love and be loved. They want to have their relationships feeling good and harmonious, and they want to feel good in themselves, good in their bodies. They want to feel at ease, they want to feel happy, and they want to feel good. And that is essentially the birthright of all of us, is to experience that ease within us, that joy and that harmony, and to essentially find that ability to love ourselves, and from that place to enjoy relating with others and have our relationships to be growthful and joyful and fun and all of those things. And yet there is often conflict within, conflict in relationships with others, and a place where people aren't feeling good. And that's often why they've come and sought me out for help and for guidance, and essentially to discover that greater ease is to, number one, I think, to recognize that that is the natural state, the place of ease, the place of presence, the place of relaxation, joy. That is our natural state, and the conflict and the separation and the distress and disharmony is the aberration. So ultimately, we all have within us the power to transform our lives. All of us in every moment can be able to clear the pain when it arises, and to not follow that route of either the narrative that's going on, the distress, to not loop into a place of negativity, disharmony, distress. That's easily said, I recognise, but one of the first places to feel good is to, of course, recognise where we're not feeling good. So that's why people often come to me, because they need to bring out of the shadows everything that is not feeling good. And that's important that we do that we bring it out, because anything in the shadows can be destructive, and anything that we bring out of the shadows has the power to transform, because once it's out in the open and we're not having it eating away at us, we're not acting out of it. So often people can feel uncomfortable and unhappy in their work. They can feel unhappy and uncomfortable in their body. They can feel unhappy and uncomfortable with their financial situation. They can feel unhappy and uncomfortable in their relationships with their family, their partner, their colleagues, wherever it is. The first place is we need to bring it out of the shadows and put it on the table in front of us and see that the areas where we're not happy, to find out how to start the process of recognizing that we're the ones that have the power to transform our lives. We're the ones that can change anything and everything, and even if it feels insurmountable. And one of the first places is to start by bringing it all out, all the things that aren't working, and to see if there's anywhere where we can start to empower ourselves to do something different. So we can look at the areas where there might be a repeated pattern going on in a relationship, for instance, and see where we could do something different, because often people are stuck in a cycle. So when I speak with people, they will have a narrative running, and it might be about their financial situation, and it will be a very strong narrative, but it often, ironically, is keeping them stuck in that situation of lack. And so I would encourage them to see where there is abundance, to see where they're not feeling in lack, where there is the possibility to at least open to the idea that there can be some transformation. And that would be the same in any situation. So if they're not feeling good in their body and they're not happy with the way they are eating, they're not happy with their state of fitness, it's first of all acknowledging what's going on, and then taking maybe some very small steps and recognizing that we're the ones that have the power to transform. So we're the ones that can make a small change, and that even if it's a small change, when we've taken a small step, and often people try to do sort of huge dramatic things in terms of their fitness or their diet, whereas I remember I've worked with people who are eating in, this was when I was a PT particularly, not eating healthily at all, maybe not eating all day, maybe just living on coffee. I've definitely worked with all sorts of people who are living in ways that one wouldn't necessarily ever think was healthy, but they're trapped in that. So it's just a gentle shift. What we need to do with all these things is just turn the emotional set point slightly to show us that we can make shifts. I think often people get overwhelmed with wanting to make change because it's so far away from where they are that they don't recognize that if we slightly change the emotional set point. So it's often good, as I say, write it all out, bring it all out, talk it all out, put it all on the table. So again, in relationships, if there's a constant pattern of disharmony and conflict in a relationship with a colleague, for instance, then actually see where you can make a shift, because it's the empowering place of knowing that we make the difference. We're the common denominator in all of these things, and we empower ourselves by taking control of our lives. And taking control is making choices and decisions that work for us and that are different to what we've been doing. Trying to be in control smacks of oughts and shoulds and doesn't work. And that's why people, when they try and make changes, often try too hard to set a regime up or make it about the other person. So in relationships, they'll often make it about the other, or they'll say they're in a possible situation and that the person, the boss, won't change, the partner won't change, the child won't change. Whereas ultimately, I think the definition of power is when we can direct and influence somebody, but ultimately no one can direct and influence us if we are empowered and have our own power and are in our own place of, like, we're the ones that can make the difference. So then, having put everything out on the table, the first step is to bring it all out and recognize that there's lots of places we may be not happy, but we must get out of that loop of staying in the loop of the psychological drama of feeling distressed and having a constant narrative, and instead start to see where you can make a small shift the emotional set point. So make a small change with what you eat, for instance. Make a small change by walking to, part of the way to work. Things that you can maintain and sustain, and that you can empower yourself with. If you're feeling lacking in financial acumen, see where there is abundance. See where you are given, something at work. I don't know whether sometimes people bring in cakes or whatever, but see where you are receiving more abundance. Watch when you're out in the streets, see the abundance in the trees or the people. There's things all over, and recognizing that everything that we can transform, it is an inner process. So there is a potential transformation to happen within us. That's why we first of all need to see what's going on and recognize that that's to do with us. So if it isn't working, as I say, when any area of our life, whether it's our body, our finances, our job, our relationships, bring it out onto the table. But rather than being in the victim position, that it's that out there, it's recognizing, okay, I'm bringing this out on the table so that I then can see where things aren't working in my life, and then I'm going to be in the position to start to change it. And then it's good often to get support, so I've given people support in that, or it is a process of starting to become more aware. So that's where coming back to presence, coming back to the present in every moment throughout the day, to be conscious, to see again what you're saying with your internal narrative, what you're saying to people, what you're thinking, because our thoughts, our words, they all have a big impact. And the more conscious we get and the more committed we get to being, we are the agents for the change in our life, then transformation can happen.